In this episode, you'll discover why feeling unsettled right now doesn't mean you're stuck and what might actually be unfolding instead. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another mini episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. These shorter episodes are meant to be a pause, a reset, something you can listen to quietly in the middle of your week and just let it land. I want to talk to you today about why so many smart and capable women feel confused or frustrated during career or life transitions, even though they're doing everything they've always done to move forward, and why it's usually not because they lack clarity, but because they're asking themselves to do the wrong thing at this stage of the transition. Every transition, no matter how it begins, tends to move through three phases. The first phase is the trigger. This is the moment that something disrupts the life or identity that once fit. Sometimes it's obvious. Maybe it's a role that ended for you, or a health shift, menopause, or an empty nest, or a relationship changing. Other times it's quieter, like a growing sense of restlessness or disengagement, or the realization that what's once energized you no longer does. As you're listening, just notice, if you're being triggered right now, does it feel loud and sudden, or has it arrived slowly over time? Sometimes when the trigger is louder, it's harder to ignore because life may have dramatically shifted. And the opposite is true for quieter triggers, which could be restlessness or a lack of fulfillment, the absence of joy, because they tend to linger, and as a result, we often ignore them for much longer. That certainly happened to me. I felt a growing sense of unfulfillment in my previous work, and I justified staying because my inner critic kept telling me things like, "You're being ungrateful," or "Why are you even thinking about changing anything? Everything is fine." And yet, underneath all of it, I knew it wasn't. The second phase is the in-between phase, and this is where most people struggle. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because this phase is unfamiliar. You're no longer who you are. You're no longer who you were, but you're not yet clear on who you're becoming. Your confidence may feel shaky, your direction may be blurred, and the strategies that used to work don't quite apply anymore. And this is also the phase where fear often sets in, and many women either rush themselves into action, hoping movement will clarity, or retreat back into what's familiar because at least it feels safe. But more often than not, clarity doesn't come from rushing, it comes from understanding. And the third phase is aligned action. Action does matter, but only when it's coming from understanding rather than urgency. When action comes too early, it often doesn't stick, and you find yourself circling the same questions again months later. Aligned action, on the other hand, feels like a natural extension of what is meant to be in your life, and it tends to come after you've reconnected with your reason for being. That is exactly why I created my pyramid of reinvention, because it's not about pushing you through a transition, but about supporting you inside the in-between phase so you don't feel lost or alone while you're there. The pyramid begins with the rediscovery, because before you can decide what's next, you need to reconnect with who you are now, not who you were when you built your career or made earlier life choices. This is where we explore your strengths, your evolving values, and the passions that may have been quietly buried under responsibilities or expectations. And this is also where we begin to reconnect with your ikigai or your reason for being. Over the next few days, think about 3 of your greatest strengths and ask yourself, am I really using these to their fullest? Think about something you may feel deeply passionate about but haven't explored in years. How would it feel like to, for example, pick up that pen again, or that paintbrush, or tie those laces and go for a run? And then ask yourself, if I were truly living according to my evolved values, what would actually change? From there, the pyramid moves into visioning, which isn't about creating a perfect plan or knowing the end point. It's about rebuilding trust in your inner voice, especially if you've spent years making decisions based on duty or external expectations. You may gently ask yourself, for example, if I trusted myself a little, just a little more than I do right now, what would I be curious to explore? Then come the obstacles, and this is where the inner dialogue gets convincing. The fears here rarely sound dramatic, they actually sound practical. Things like, or thoughts like, this isn't realistic, or I can't afford to disrupt what I've built, or now is not the time. When one of those thoughts does show up, see if you can pause and ask, is this actually a fact? Or is this an interpretation that once kept me safe? And as these obstacles loosen, confidence begins to return, not as certainty, but as self trust. And confidence is also built through the small, slightly uncomfortable actions we tend to avoid: the writing, the art, the run. Because what do you think happens to your energy when you actually start doing the things that matter to you? And what do you think happens to your confidence when you do them consistently? And finally, the pyramid leads to action and accountability, where action feels grounded and intentional and supported rather than rushed or reactive. This is where we make concrete plans to move you forward. If starting a new business is calling you, how do we do that practically? If going back to school to deepen a passion and bring it into the world feels right, which program truly fits you? When I take my clients through this process, it's incredible how exciting this stage becomes because these actions are grounded in their real inner truth. And I hope this helps you see why moving through a thoughtful process of rediscovery is so important. I went through it myself and have helped so many women through the very same journey, and it truly works. So if you're listening and thinking about your own situation, whether you're just experiencing a trigger, whether you're deep in the in between, or whether you're already taking action that didn't quite land, I want you to know this: nothing you're experiencing is random, it's information. And so here's the question I'll leave with you today: are you trying to force clarity when what you really need is permission to understand yourself first? If you'd like support with that, I offer clarity and next chapter calls for listeners of this podcast. Together, we look at what triggered your transition, where you are right now, and what kind of action would truly support you without rushing or forcing decisions before they're ready. You'll find the link to the call in the show notes. And wherever you are today, remember this, my friend. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in the middle of becoming, and there is a thoughtful, proven way forward. If this episode resonated, and if you felt yourself thinking, she's describing exactly where I am right now, I offer clarity and next chapter calls for listeners of this podcast. In it, we'll talk through where you are right now, what may be stopping you from moving forward, and what your next chapter could look like. I'll also share how I support people through career and life transitions. You can book this call directly using the first link in the show notes under Clarity and Next Chapter Call.